So I decided to play 400 games of Street Fighter 6 and see what my longest win streak could be. I don't play fighting games, so let me show you how that went. First of all, you can pick between classic or modern controls. This is basically I've been playing for 15 years versus baby mode. I can't do no left flip, up down, flip around kind of combo like I'm putting in GTA San Andreas cheat. I can barely remember a 3-button combo. So I picked modern, and which kinda limits your ability to combo because you don't have full control over your moves. Here's how my first game went where I didn't pick Juri, aka the best fighting game character to ever be made. So for that reason only I lost. So let's cut to my actual first game with Juri, and maybe I needed a bit of training before I got my first win on my 6th game. So now that I had a taste of victory, I was only going up from here. But first I had to prove to Frosty that I had surpassed him. I had my Zenkai boost, we were going back and forth until I beat him 4-2 and then he quit. Then I took a few more L's. I didn't notice this just yet, but later on I noticed you can give yourself a little tag, so whenever I saw they were a fan of the old Street Fighter game, I knew I may as well not even try. You see a Ryu or a Ken playing on classic controls, you're losing. But then came along Pain. No, not that Pain. Pain. The first Juri main I had encountered who also used modern controls. I was out to prove I was the best modern Juri main, and this was my first real test. First of all, they played exactly like me, so we basically knew each other's moves, except they hadn't had their power buff just yet, so I was wiping the floor with them. And they ran away from the rematch, Ken and Chun-Li that I still had yet to beat, so I knew I had to beat one in order to know if I had gotten better or not. I was tryharding this Chun-Li, and I know I was tryharding because my mouth was just wide open and saying nothing. But it was worth it because I finally got my first Chun-Li defeat under my belt. But then I had my eyes set on another Juri main on my quest to become the best self-proclaimed Juri main in this game. I then proceeded to bully this person 3 times in a row until they quit. So I did a little trolling and I queued right back up with them because I knew they didn't want to fight me again. Except they actually did, like 4 times in a row, but they couldn't get their plot buff. I was on 8 wins in a row, most of them being from this one guy. However, that got taken away by Chun-Li and I was back to square one. But then, my most fun and hardest challenge out of all of these matches, a Juri main called Ash Stam. I thought I was about to lose diabolically, but it didn't go nearly how I expected. Up until this point, I never even used the parry button, until we started reading each other's moves like we were in the final battle of some anime. The first round went to them, but then it was time for me to get my get back. This time, that round went to me, after I slowly got used to how they were playing, but I'm sure they were also getting used to me as well. I wasn't gonna back down from this challenge, but then they started improving, and I was down 3-1. Was I about to lose 3 times in a row against this Juri? Yes, I did. Most people would have quit after losing 3 times in a row, but I wasn't backing down. I was about to lose again, but then I remembered my dream of becoming the best Juri main, and I refused to lose. I started pulling out successful parries, punishes. I was making my big comeback. It was now 4-3. We started doing things at the exact same time, but then they added it to make it 5-3. Then came 5-4, going from parries into punishes, but then for the first time in this long battle, I had tied it up with 5-5. We had both beaten each other 1 round, but then for the first time I had taken the lead. I was set on claiming my spot as the better player. Then came 6-6, and little did I know they wanted to go best to 7, and they managed to edge it just about, kind of, and they left after that. While they may have won the war, I gave them a battle they couldn't forget. So even though they got one over me, I'd like to think me and Ash Stam are pretty much even. Then it was on to a couple more losses and wins until I got my first perfect KO against a Ken no less. Let's ignore the fact that he's new to fighting games like me and pretend he's been playing his whole life, okay? Let's just pretend that. After this, I was on a solid losing streak and I was no longer having fun. But then I came across my first Guile, who is also a Street Fighter 3 fan. How bad could this be? What you saw just there is how every Guile main plays. I decided I needed a bit of training. I had done no training and kinda just went with the flow up to this point, learning from each game. I can now inform you, this training arc I had did nothing for me. It just made me realize how trash I am at this game. But then this Kimberly came along, and I would show you a lot of this fight, but honestly, it was just me beating them each time until they somehow managed to get to 4-9 and then they quit. I ended my first day on a win, but for my first day playing this game, I'd say I improved a solid amount from when I first started. Day 2 came around. I can assure you this is still me. Today I want to go on a 10 win streak minimum. First few games didn't start well. In fact, my first win of the day was very lucky. Then I remembered my reason for hating fighting games, which was spammers. Safe to say, that didn't go beyond 2 matches. I couldn't be bothered. I then set my eyes on someone with a small 5-win streak, and I was here to ruin his day after what I had to deal with. I didn't even give him a rematch. I was being that petty. But just like that, I was back on a losing streak. This day felt harder than the first day, probably because it was the first time like me got sent packing, but since I was on a losing streak, I thought, you know what, why don't I just try and beat someone with a big win streak? Then I found Moment. Would I really be able to break his win streak? He beat me 1 round, but then I managed to edge the next one. But then he hits me with a fat combo and it was GG at that point.
Fight back! Fight back!
The other rematches never even came close to that. I still had yet to get a solid amount of wins, but then out comes Formuoli, single-handedly changing the game by giving me the worst ping in existence. It was so slow that I could see his moves happening before they even landed. This was the most painful match to drag myself through, but I still won nonetheless. I then managed to get my first ever win over a Gao main. This is how I know this person never played with him before, because they weren't anything close to the other ones. So I had a little fun beating him until the game crashed. I was beating characters that gave me trouble the day before. This was my turning point. I beat another Juri 4 times in a row, and then I taught them how to actually time their special, which felt so satisfying. But then I got humbled, like pretty hard. For whatever reason after this, I fought 3 Chun-Lis and I learned the brutality of lightning kicks. Probably the most frustrating move I'd say I had to deal with. The moment they couldn't hit the lightning kick combo, it was over for them. They didn't know what to do. After that, it was just a few wins and a few losses. However, this is where I pick up my first real win streak. I had picked up 13 wins in a row and I hadn't even noticed yet. I was just in my flow state until a Jamie put an end to that, and I just kept a grudge on Jamie's after this point because I thought I wouldn't get any better than that. But then I was right back to it and getting 8 wins in a row until that was also stopped. I had started to find my groove and figured out my attack pattern and how to mix it up even after multiple rematches, but I wanted to test. I went against a guy who had amassed a 71 win streak. Was I delusional? Yes, I got bullied. I started losing to every player after this, so I went back to having wars against Juris because honestly, they were the most fun matches because it's typically just pure aggression. That's pretty much all that happened in day 2. Day 3, I wanted a 20 win streak or more. I started and my first game I lost, but then I saw someone on a win streak and thought this would be a perfect way to start my day. Yeah, I'm not that guy. I needed some time to warm up because my first few games I just kept losing. So to get myself warmed up, I fought a modern Kimberly who wasn't too hard to beat, like 7 times. So that was nice and I had all my confidence back. Did that streak continue? No, but it's all good. I noticed that my confidence was through the roof whenever I saw someone playing on modern controls. Ken, someone who I hate playing against, I was down to fight him because I knew he wasn't playing before I was even born. I beat him so hard he quit mid-game. I started identifying whether or not it would be a hard fight based on their clothing and controls. I managed to beat this Chun-Li I thought for sure I was going to lose against. I attempted another low ping game and it was just as terrible as the last one, but I was trying to get as many wins as I could no matter how bad the ping was. Then something I never expected to happen came around. A Guile on modern controls. It's safe to say I got my win streak from this guy. Unless you've played from the previous games, chances are you're either gonna spam or you're just gonna get bodied. And he got bodied 7 times. This was the start of my win streak. Luke, I wiped him. Then for whatever reason, the game sent me to the Shadow Realm and made me challenge George, a Street Fighter 3 fan, but I'm not going to count it because it was a casual match which I'm not even signed up for. The game found it so funny that I did it again and sent me to another Ken on a win streak, so I had to toggle that on and off to remind the game I ain't trying to get these. But back to my actual win streak. I had 8 wins so far, and I fought a Chun-Li, managing to get all the way up to 18 wins in a row, because for some reason they wanted to face me 10 times and just didn't give up at that point. Next, a Juri tried to beat me, and they also failed miserably, helping me get to 27 wins in a row. However, all good things must come to an end when I fought a Chun-Li who knew how to do this thing which I still don't even know how to do. It was so sad that the lobby paid their respects to me after losing my 27 win streak. So to finish this off and reach my 400 total games played, I challenged someone called Mr. Fahrenheit who was a Street Fighter 1 fan and helped him get to his 50th win streak, which was actually pretty fun even though I was losing, but I was happy for him. But over these 3 days of playing nothing but Street Fighter 6 all day, I definitely got a lot better, but I really need to know how to stop pressing the D-pad so hard because I gave myself an injury from it.